one more time.
Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and welcome to the State of the Saints podcast live on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you very much for tuning in. Got a good show lined up for you on this edition of the State of the Saints podcast. It is round number 2 of the worst quarterbacks in New Orleans Saints history. That's right. We are down to the final 4, and 2 of these individuals are going to move on to the final round of the worst quarterbacks in New Orleans Saints history. So for those that just tuned in, probably didn't check out the show last week, we have 4 individuals that are straight up hot garbage, okay? 4 of the worst quarterbacks that you're ever going to find, not only in the New Orleans Saints organization, but in NFL history. Right? Tonight, we have Danny Warfel going up against Wade Wilson. And we also have the battle of the Billy Joes. We got Billy Joe Hobart taking on Billy Joe Toliver. Who is going to move on to the finals? We're going to find out later on in the show. But I do want to say thank you all for checking out this live. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for spending your night with me. It is crazy right now in South Carolina. I'm located in Myrtle Beach. The wind is blowing. The rain is falling. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this disclaimer out here. Let everybody know that there is a strong possibility that the power can go out. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying because the wind is blowing really hard right now. We got some tropical storm force winds out here. So if the power does go out, I do apologize. And hopefully we'll be done with this show by the time that could possibly happen. But I do want to say thank you all for checking out the show. Those that are in the chat right now, I see a couple of people filing in accordingly. I see my boy Johnny in here. Chemo, what's going on? Donovan, official Young Nola, Scooby-Doo up in this thing. John, Joe, Brian, and Ronald. And my boy Casual Dex is in here as well. And okay, I'm seeing a few more people. The truth hurts. And Johnny, man, thank y'all very much for checking out the live. All right. Thank y'all so much. Got some good stuff lined up for this week too, man. So I got some good interviews for you all to enjoy. This week, we will have New Orleans Saints college football and pro analyst Mike Detillier will be on the show. And we also have ESPN Saints national reporter Mike Triplett will be on the show, man. So very excited for this week of the State of the Saints podcast, man. Keep it locked right here. We're going to be breaking down some of the news that is coming down the pipe. You know Mike Triplett, man, he's close to the hip with the New Orleans Saints. A lot of things are being implemented when it comes to training camp. So we're going to be asking a lot of questions to Mike and also to both of the Mikes, Mike Detillier and Mike Triplett. So be sure you check out the State of the Saints podcast, and thank you all so much for your love and your support. But let's go ahead and get this thing started, man. Let's go ahead and get started with the worst quarterbacks in New Orleans Saints history. Okay, first up, we have Wade Wilson taking on Danny Wolfe. Okay, now these 2 guys right here, both guys were some guys that the Saints wanted to be starters for their team. Okay, you got Danny Wolfe, who was a 4th-round pick coming out of the University of Florida, playing for the old ball coach Steve Spurrier. Pretty doggone good in college, okay? One of the best college quarterbacks that came out in a while, man. You know what I'm saying? You can say what you want, but Danny Wolfe had probably just as much fanfare, just as much notoriety and fame as a young Tim Tebow did going to the University of Florida. I mean, Danny Wolfe was the man. I mean, he led them to a national championship game. They end up getting beat to sleep by the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Didn't have an answer for the read option when Tommy Frazier was there. Shouts out to my frat brother, Tommy Frazier. But Danny Wolfe did do some good things in college, put up some really big numbers, had some records at the University of Florida. You know, they stood for quite some time before people, you know what I'm saying, came in order to break them, you know what I'm saying, like Chris Leak and all them other guys that came through. But Danny Wolfe was the man. He got drafted in the 4th round, had a lot to do with the system that Steve Spurrier was running. It's funny to say that now because it seemed like everybody running the spread offense these days, but the spread offense was not ready for prime time at the time Danny Wolfe came out of the University of Florida. 4th round draft pick, came to the Saints and really stunk it up, man. Really didn't do much, okay? I mean, the Saints did everything they possibly could to give him the job, okay? They even brought in riffraff like Billy Joe Hobart and Billy Joe Toliver, who we're going to get to later on, to try to, you know, push him forward. Say, man, look, this is your competition right here. Made it as comfortable as possible. They made it as comfortable as they possibly can for Danny Wolfe, and he still couldn't take over the starting job, man. Now, I'm just saying this about Danny Wolfe, the football player. Danny Wolfe, the human being, was a great human being. Everybody knows how embedded he was into his faith. He became a minister. He was a guy on the team that a lot of people look for leadership and guidance. But when it came to the intangibles, when it came to the X's and the O's, that boy sucked, okay? Throwing more picks than Razor Ramon, okay? Throwing more interceptions than any other transmitter out here in the entire United States or around the world. This guy was horrible, okay? This guy threw more turnovers or had more turnovers than your local bakery, okay? It was horrible. And now we got Wade Wilson. Wade Wilson was another guy that the Saints had as a starter. And I must say, Wade Wilson, when he was a starter for the New Orleans Saints, did pretty doggone good, man, for the first 5 weeks of the season. Okay, the Saints went 5-0. That was the first time the Saints went 5-0 in franchise history. Wade Wilson was the quarterback. Wasn't lighting it up, wasn't throwing 4 and 5 touchdowns a game, but he wasn't turning the ball over. But this was the tale of two halves, okay? Because the first 5 games, the Saints looked pretty doggone good. I remember being a young kid, and I said this last week, I remember being a young kid on North Russia-Blade Street out there in the Ninth Ward, looking or listening to, because the Saints sucked at the time, their games weren't on TV, but I remember listening to the game, and I remember like all excited and stuff like that when the Saints went on the winning streak. I remember dancing in the room with my big brother EJ, the Saints winning games, and then all of a sudden they had one of the most epic collapses that you're ever going to see, okay? They started with 5-0 and ended in 8-8. Classic Dallas Cowboy type stuff right here. Classic Dallas Cowboy collapse, Tony Romo style. Okay, so the question on everybody's mind is, who is going to move on to the finals? Is it going to be Wade Wilson or is it going to be Danny Wolfe? Well, the answer to that question is Danny Wolfe. Okay, Danny Wolfe will be moving on to the finals of the worst quarterbacks in New Orleans Saints history. Look, like I said earlier, Danny Wolfe is an incredible human being, okay? Great guy, embedded in his fate. I mean, there's not too many people have anything bad to say about Danny Wolfe, and I kind of feel bad even talking about him because he's such a nice guy. But at the same time, you got to call a spade a spade. Wasn't very good, and the simple fact that the Saints drafted him. When you get drafted, that means that teams invest in you. That means that they've seen something in you that they felt like, man, you can contribute to this team. You can be something special. You can lead us. But he couldn't. All he did was throw interceptions, man, and make bad decisions. Now, you can make an argument that the Saints didn't have the best offensive line at the time, but you can't argue and say that the Saints had one of the greatest offensive linemen in NFL history in Willie Roaf. And when Willie Roaf is, you know what I'm saying, on the offensive line for you, and you still taking sacks, I have to say to you that you can't be that good, okay? And plus, he took too long to deliver the football, bad decision-making. It was just absolutely a train wreck out there in New Orleans. when Danny Wolfe was at the helm. So Danny Wolfe will be moving on to the finals of the worst quarterbacks in Saints history. But we're going to take a break, and I want to hear from you all. Just let me know what you all think. Let's see what we got here. Let me stroll down a little bit because I said quite a bit. TJ Jones, hope y'all doing okay. Jerry, we doing fine right now. Hot garbage. That's right, man. Steve Walsh. You might say Steve Walsh. Robert, the only reason I don't put Steve Walsh into this conversation is very, very simple, okay? Anytime that you can lead a team to the playoffs, on the threshold of the playoffs, I mean, you got to look at what the Saints had and how garbage they were, okay? I know a lot of people, we so happy today. We like, man, the Saints, man, they cold, bro. Man, we up there going ham on Atlanta Falcon fans and Tampa Bay fans and Carolina fans and anybody else that has something to say about the Saints because the Saints have been relevant for the past decade and a half. But at the same time, you have to remember the Saints sucked, okay? And there were a lot of moral victories going on in New Orleans, all right? And the moral victory that stands out to me was Steve Walsh on his run when Bobby Hebert was in a contract dispute with the organization. He did lead the Saints to the playoffs, okay? Like we cannot dismiss that. So because he led the Saints to the playoffs and he did have some success, I could not move him on to the next round. And not to mention, Steve Walsh had his very own song. Did y'all not hear Steve Walsh, baby? Doom, 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 doom. Steve Walsh, baby. Doom, 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 doom. Man, for real. So anytime you get a theme song, I can't move you on, okay? When you get your own theme song, man, you certified, okay? No matter how garbage you were, if you get a theme song, I can't move you on. That's the motto here on the State of the Saints podcast. If you got a theme song, I can't move you on. All right. All right. So let's see what we got here, man. I feel like I missed a few people. Brian says, why don't you give Stephen A. Smith on your show for an interview? Brian, the reason why I don't try to reach out to Stephen A. Smith, a lot of people that you reach out to probably 9 times out of 10 don't even control their Twitter handles. You know, you'll be surprised how many people have assistants and stuff like that, doing their controlling their Twitter handles and controlling their Facebooks and stuff like that. I would reach out to them, but I don't think that Stephen A. Smith has enough knowledge about the New Orleans Saints in order for us to actually have a full conversation. Now, I don't feel like it will be organic. I like to get people on a show that I know like the New Orleans Saints and have a plethora of knowledge about the team, that invest in the team, that eat, sleep, and breathe the team, okay? That's what I want on the show. That's what I feel like the Who Dat Nation you all deserve. I don't want to just get people on the show because, they're a big name. I want people on the show that actually like the team, that actually follow the team, not a person that probably has an intern that has to stay up all night to give them information for them to sound smart about a topic, but a person that actually sits down and watch the games and analyze them and really have an emotional investment in the team. Those are the type of people that I want on the State of the Saints podcast to interview, because I want them to be as organic and as authentic as it gets when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. So no disrespect to Stephen A. Smith. He's an incredible man, incredibly talented, very knowledgeable about the world of sports, but I don't feel like he's as knowledgeable about the Saints as some of these other people that I feel like would be great guests on the State of the Saints podcast. But that's a good question, Brian. Thank you, man. What's good, y'all? Good to tune in again. What up, TJ? Jack, thank you very much for tuning in. Inevitable says Buccaneers are the AARP squad. And yeah, man, shouts out to Tom Brady, man. Today is Tom Brady's birthday, so happy birthday to Tom Brady, turning 43 years old. Say what you want to say about Tom Brady, man, but he is arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Depends on, your particular taste on quarterbacks, man. So I can't take that away from him, Jim Everett let me down every Sunday. Yeah, Chris, I mean, yeah, he did, but Jim Everett wasn't the worst. Okay, I mean, he was bad, but he wasn't terrible. Okay, look at these guys behind me. Okay, look at these guys. Man, like just looking at those guys on the screen. Okay, I'm looking at the camera right now, and when I don't look at the camera, I'm shifting toward the chat because I don't want to regurgitate all over my camera. Okay, because that's how garbage that was. I mean, so many bad memories when I look at these guys. All right, I mean, it's like ink blots, right? You ever go to the therapist or you seen that on TV? You see the therapist with the ink blots, and they look at it and be like, they put up these pictures and they ask people, what do you see when you see this picture? When I look at that picture, the only thing that I think about is a horrible childhood and embarrassing moments, okay? Embarrassing moments that will last me a lifetime. Traumatic experiences that will last me a lifetime, all right? That is what I see when I look at that hot garbage behind me, okay? So Jim Everett was bad, but he wasn't that bad. Let's see. Take a few more before we get back into the round here. Billy Joe Toliver, thank you very much for the $5. He says, please choose me. I ain't never won nothing else in my whole life. Billy Joe Toliver, thank you so much for the $5, man. I have to say that I agree with you. And who knows? Maybe this will be your first time ever winning anything. Just stay tuned. Brian says, because TJ knows how Stephen A. Smith rolls, especially when he yells, make your ears bleed. Yes, man. I don't even, that's not even a problem for me, Jared, because that's the entertainment aspect of it. You know, like he wants to be entertained. He doesn't want to bore people to sleep. I get that, right? If I were just sitting up here, yeah, this is TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and tonight I got a list, and this list is going to decide who the best quarterback in Saints history is. Now, I mean, if I was talking like that, like, come on, man, would y'all want to listen or look at this? You'll be like, man, look, man, what else is on? Let me fire up the TV or something, you know? So I understand the entertainment aspect of it all, but I want people to know what they're talking about. That's my only problem. Just because you sound loud and you talk fast don't mean you know what you're talking about. And I don't feel like he has an emotional investment in the New Orleans Saints. Not enough to be on the State of the Saints podcast. That's why that's what I never want to do for you all. I never want to shortchange you, ever. Okay, not when it comes to me doing these shows or bringing guests on the show. You know, I mean, I don't even have shows if I know I'm not going to give my all. If I feel like I'm just going to half-ass it, I'm not even going to get behind the camera. I'm not. I want to give you all the best experience possible. I want to make sure I know what the heck I'm talking about, and I want to be able to deliver it with a level of enthusiasm. Now, there are some times when I'm tired, but I still try to push through and try to give my best. That's what I want for guests, and that's what I want as a host of the State of the Saints podcast. So that's one of the reasons, not so much the yelling, Jerry. Let me see. Danny Wolfe was straight garbage. And this is a make or break year. We have too much talent as superstars to screw up again in January. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. We're gonna be talking a little bit about the season, and we're gonna be talking about some of the roster cuts and stuff like that. We had a show earlier, and I had to cut it short, man. It's been crazy. Like y'all, some of you may know, I work at a radio station. I'm a DJ, and you know, sometimes, you know, when you have storms and you know, different information comes out, you have to make quick announcements. You got to be able to go live on a dime. So it was pretty crazy this afternoon, but I wanted to make sure I give you all, you know, something, okay? Because I know I talked to Casual Dex via inbox. He asked me about the show. Shouts out to my boy Dex, always keeping your boys on his P's and Q's. So I wanted to give you all a little something, you know what I'm saying? And not to mention, you know, I feel so bad for the weekend. I told Josh I was going to do a show as well, so I didn't want to go 3 straight days without at least giving a show. Okay, so wanted to give you all something, you know what I'm saying? But we're gonna be talking about that a little bit later in the show. We're gonna be talking a little bit about a make or break year. So we'll revisit that, Ren, when we get a chance, bro. Let's see. Joe says, who that TJ Hope you and your family are safe. Yeah, we good now, man. I'm the only one that's actually up right now. My son is asleep, which the reason why I started the show like around 9:30 Eastern time tonight, because he didn't want to sleep, man. He was a little bit cranky, so I had to open the door, you know what I'm saying, for him to see the wind and the rain, and we sung Rain, Rain, Go Away till he fell asleep. Okay. And then my girl, man, for some apparent reason, stayed up all night last night cleaning up. So she didn't get any sleep, man. And I think she only got like 4 hours of sleep. And y'all already know, man, you know what I'm saying? If you've been in a relationship for a long time, or you stay with somebody, man, or you married, you already know. Okay. If your girl don't get that much sleep, it's going to be some trouble. Okay. It's going to be pretty cranky. So I wanted to make sure, I stayed up and stuff like that, took care of Paxton, while she get opportunity to sleep, man. You know what I'm saying? It's levels and there's a balance to this, right? You know what I'm saying? We got a co-parent in this thing. So, I wanted to make sure I do that. So, yeah, but everybody sleep except me. I lived through the decades of suck. Yeah. I think a lot of people did, man. I mean, I knew some people right off bat, man. You know what I'm saying? People like people like Jerry, people like Dwayne, people like Keen Arthur, Chemo, and people like that been Saints fans for a long time. And I apologize if I don't mention others, but those are the people that kind of stick out when it comes to like being, Saints fans for a long time and had to deal with some of this hot garbage. Okay, so yeah. Let's see. But let's get back into the round, folks. Let's get back into the round. All right. So let's go ahead and focus on the battle of the Billy Joes. Okay. We got Billy Joe Hobart taking on Billy Joe Toliver. First off, what are the chances of two quarterbacks named Billy Joe? Okay. And not to mention being on the same team. Billy Joe Hobart was a guy that the Saints appointed as a starter. Okay, Billy Joe Hobart was a quarterback for the Saints. Did okay, I guess, you know what I'm saying, until he ended up getting injured. Had to miss the entire season towards Achilles tendon. And then comes Billy Joe Toliver. These two guys right here, you would think at the time when Mike Dicker was the coach, it was as if you had Joe Montana or Steve Young on your team, okay? Because that's how the media were trying to approach this. What Billy Joe is going to play? What's Billy Joe going to play? Let me make something perfectly clear. Didn't matter what Billy Joe that you put in the game. No matter if you put in Billy Joe Hobart. No matter if you put in Billy Joe Toliver. You can even put in Billy Joe Saunders. For all my boxing fans out there, you know who I'm talking about. You can put in Billy Joe Clampett, if they even had a Billy Joe Clampett. You can put in any Billy Joe you wanted. You would have got the same result. Horrible football playing, whole bunch of interceptions, a bunch of sacks, and a lot of upset Saints fans. Billy Joe Hobart. What in the hell was Mike Dicker thinking going to sign this guy? Which leads me to my next point. Mike Dicker was one of the worst coaches and decision makers in Saints and NFL history. The biggest fraud in NFL history. As a player, Mike Dicker was the man. One of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game. Played for the Dallas Cowboys. Played for the Philadelphia Eagles. Pretty damn good, okay? Really good tight end. Hall of Fame tight end. Went to the Chicago Bears. Led the 85 Bears, but I feel like he was more sizzle than steak. Buddy Ryan, one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time, one of the greatest coaches of defense of all time, the godfather of the 46 defense, led the 85 Bears. Okay, Mike Dicker was just a coach on the sidelines with a sweater vest. Okay, that was it. That's all he was. He was a coach with some decent hair and a sweater vest. Buddy Ryan led that team, and without Buddy Ryan, we wouldn't even be talking about Mike Dicker, okay? We wouldn't even be talking about it. He came to the New Orleans Saints, and I remember the whole slogan, this year we're made of iron, because Iron Mike Dicker was there, which is like one of the cheesiest slogans you ever gonna find. Ugh. Straight up cheesy. But this year we're made of iron. Turns out that the Saints were made of cotton because that's how soft they were with Billy Joe Hobart and Billy Joe Toliver at quarterback. Billy Joe Hobart threw a bunch of interceptions. Didn't know what you were going to get, a mixed bag. Sometimes he'll play decent, but that was during the time when the Saints had a running game. People had like Ray Zellers and Mario Bates and crew. And then you had Billy Joe Toliver, who played okay. And the only reason why he played okay, because he got the Ryan Fitzpatrick treatment. Nobody expected him to play well. Nobody knew his tendencies. But sure enough, when teams realized, wait a minute, hold up, time out. We playing against Billy Joe Toliver? No. I can't lose to somebody named Billy Joe Toliver. I can't. So they went out there and they blitzed this fool, and this guy could not read a defense with a magnifying glass. So who is going to move on to the final round? Ladies and gentlemen, we got a first, okay? For the first time in the State of the Saints podcast history, we got two individuals that are going to move on to the final round. That's right. We're going to pick not two, but three quarterbacks that are going to move on to the finals because, Lord have mercy, both of these guys were equally trash. You can basically put these guys together, especially since they named Billy Joe. You might as well just say the Billy Joes, okay? Because you can combine these two guys together, Transformer style, and they still could not evolve into a decent quarterback. So both of these guys are going to move on to the final round. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, three individuals. We got Danny Wolfe and the Billy Joes, Billy Joe Toliver and Billy Joe Hobart. On next week, one of these three guys are going to be named the worst quarterback in New Orleans Saints history. And I'm excited about it. So I want to hear from you all. What do you think about the list? Do you think that it's justified that both of these guys move on to the final round? Or do you feel like that's just a cop-out on my end? So I'm going to go ahead and read the chat a little bit, see what everybody has to say here. Let's scroll down a tad bit because I know I said quite a bit here. Let's see. Danny Wolfe was horrible. Yes, he was. Absolutely horrible. Y'all see at the bottom of the screen down there, you see him getting sacked right there. That was the story of Danny Wolfe's life, okay? Ups and downs. Mostly downs in the Saints uniform, okay? TJs Unusual Background, thank you very much for the $2, says you're treating me like some used wallpaper right now. Because honestly, I mean, it don't get more used than this, okay? I mean, come on, man. Give me a break. I mean, this is used, washed up. I mean, under your shoe type, tissue paper type stuff behind me right now. So, yeah. I would still watch if you talk like that. Saints football, my brother. Yeah, inevitable. But at the same time, man, I think I couldn't be like that. I don't think I can talk like Ben Stein and still, I guess like have the attention of the Who Dat Nation. Well, probably you inevitable because, I mean, you're the man. You know what I'm saying? You always looking out for your boy. But, I mean, I couldn't talk like Ben Stein. I don't know if some of you know who Ben Stein is, but if you ever seen the movie Ferris Bueller Day Off, he was the teacher that was in summer school saying, Bueller. That's Ben Stein, okay? So, let's see. State of Saints podcast, shout out to my friend Anna Marie. That's my good buddy. Much love to her, man. Shouts out to Anna. Anna always a part of the State of Saints podcast. I see her chiming in from time to time, so thank you. Billy Joe Hobart was terrible. Yes, he was. Okay, that's the reason why he's moving on to the finals with the other Billy Joe. Let's see. The Billy would beat out either Billy Joe. Who was that? Burrell? Billy Burrell would beat out either Billy Joe. I'm pretty sure he would. Lord have mercy. Billy Joe Hobart was hot garbage. Yes, he was. Michael Jackson. Billy Joe is not my lover. Okay, shouts out to Michael Jackson for the $2. That was my best Michael Jackson impression. Billy Joe. Can you imagine Michael Jackson as the coach of the Saints? Be like, Mike, what do you think about the defense today? Well, I thought we played pretty good. I think that but we could have did a little better in the secondary. I couldn't imagine that though. But anyway, rest in peace to Michael Jackson. Balman didn't start, but was still garbage. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he didn't really make the cut because, I mean, you didn't really see a huge body of work from him. Mike Ditka. Yeah, absolutely right. Mike Ditka, smoke and mirrors. Billy Joel says, heck, you could have even started me. Yeah, I probably could have started Billy Joel, but hey, probably would have did a better job than any of the hopers I just named. Jerry, what's going on, man? Says, worst quarterback in Saints history, I would have to say Steve Walsh or John Fourcade. John Fourcade almost made the list. Steve Walsh, once again, Jerry, I cannot put a guy who had a song. I cannot have him move alone, okay? If you got a song, you can't move on, okay? That's the slogan, okay? Can't have no song. And maybe Heath Shuler. Didn't put Heath Shuler on the list, Jerry, because he wasn't a Saint starting out. He started out with the Redskins. Most of his hot garbage performances came in a Redskins uniform and the whole battle with Gus Frerotte, okay? All that in Washington and Gus We Trust and all that kind of stuff. So that's the reason I didn't move him on to the next round. All three of them were straight, hot, cheap garbage. And Mike Trash Ditka was trash when it came to evaluating talent. Ditka stink. Yep. I said it, man. Ditka was a fraud. Okay. Mike Ditka was the biggest fraud in NFL history. The only reason nobody really looks at him that way is because he was a great player and he won a Super Bowl. And when you win a Super Bowl, all of a sudden, people kind of become silent because they like, well, he did win a ring. But if it wasn't for Buddy Ryan, we wouldn't even be talking about Mike Ditka as a coach. The putter in Caddyshack was called, okay, I never seen Caddyshack, you know what I'm saying? Believe it or not, I never seen it, you know what I'm saying? I know the movie with Rodney Dangerfield in there, but I never seen the movie. I know it's a cult classic, but I never seen the movie. State of the Saints podcast correction, O'Brien. Bill O'Brien. Billy Joe Hobart should be the winner, hands down. Man, we gonna see, man. A lot of garbage on that list. I don't think you could go wrong with either one, in my honest opinion. All the quarterbacks up there on your list or trailer park trash. TJ can play better than them. I'm pretty sure I could, man. I'm pretty sure I could throw a couple more touchdowns to any one of those guys could, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't even play quarterback. Okay. And probably most of those passes probably going to be over there in the Gatorade, because I'm not the most accurate thrower of the football that you ever going to see. But I'm pretty sure I could have played better than any one of those guys. Jared Poor, Anna giving you a shout out there. So, shouts out to both of you, man, being a part of the show. So, man, we're gonna switch gears here. So if you have any questions that don't pertain to the worst quarterbacks in Saints history or pertain to the list, that's fine. You can ask your questions in the chat. But we are going to move on because we're going to finish up the conversation that we had earlier about some of the cuts that the New Orleans Saints made on today. Some in particular were Krishan Hogan, the wide receiver that came later in the season last year, and Tommy Lee Lewis. He was also a guy that was cut, and the guy that a lot of people asking me about, XFL leader in interceptions, Dietrich Haddon. How about Dietrich Nichols? Dietrich Haddon, I'm thinking about the gospel singer. But anyway, Dietrich Nichols. So those were the guys that kind of stood out to me as far as like guys that, a lot of people looked at and was like, wow, these guys got cut. Krishan Hogan did some good things in the Saints uniform. Wasn't mostly about catching. It was mostly about pass blocking. That's the reason why I feel like the Saints actually had him in, because he was a decent blocker and he can help in a running game on the outside on some of those halfback tosses that Alvin Kamara or Latavius Murray had to get. Tommy Lee Lewis was just a late pickup for roster depth because he knew the system and everything like that. I knew it was going to be a long shot for Tommy Lee all that talent on the Saints, in the Saints wide receiver room, I felt like he was going to be a casualty of war. So that didn't too much surprise me. Dietrich Nichols was a guy that played in the XFL, which I just found out today that The Rock ended up becoming a part owner of the XFL. So that's very interesting. But, I mean, Dietrich Nichols did, lead the XFL in interceptions, but I just felt like with no OTAs, no mini camp, I mean, to try to make that transition and try to learn the defense of the New Orleans Saints in training camp, really the way that training camp is set up, you can't have any weak links, man. And you really, unless you like have some rookies or something like that, I don't think teams really have time to try to bring guys up to speed. So I think that he was one of those casualties as well. I think that if he probably would have had some OTAs, some mini camps, coming in and out the facility and stuff like that in the offseason, getting some workouts in, getting a rapport with some of the coaching staff, probably would have sticked around, but didn't stick around, end up getting cut, and I think he probably going to end up getting picked up by another team. So those are the guys that stood out to me. Some of the other guys that were on the list, I think they had the running back out of Notre Dame. That was a long shot. Cumberlander, he was a long shot as defensive end. The Saints are pretty deep at that position, have a decent rotation. So, I mean, these guys right here didn't really stand out to me. Kind of understood why. The Saints trying to get their roster down to 80 guys, and they want to make sure that they have the right 53 on this team, man. I think they're probably going to allow teams to add or bring in a couple more players due to the pandemic. So the Saints want to make sure that they have the right pieces in place. Really don't have time to be lollygagging and pussyfooting around when it comes to the roster. You want to make sure that you have the right guys, especially since you only have a few weeks to actually get started. And training camp is not going to be that long. I think the Saints are going to be in helmets and shells starting August 12th. The players still have to pass the strength and conditioning test. So that ought to be interesting, man, because this is an honor system this season, man. Teams have to really trust in these players this offseason for them to go out and practice and work out on their own. They got to have the confidence in these guys that they actually did the right thing. So, the strength and conditioning test is going to be tough. So I'm interested to see how guys are going to be able to pan out, who is going to pass, who is going to fail, what guy took care of their bodies, what guy took care of their endurance and strength in the offseason. So that's going to be very, very interesting, man. So, but what do you guys think about the cuts? Anybody on the list surprise you? Do you think that some of the players on the list were a mistake on the Saints' part? Let me know. Josh and Jesus says, in Dicker's defense, no one could have turned the Saints around at the time. Vince Lombardi himself couldn't have turned that team around. I have to disagree with that, Josh. I have to disagree with that. I just feel like Mike Dicker was a guy that wanted to be a star. Okay, that's what I got from Mike Dicker. Mike Dicker was an attention. He was an attention hound, and the word hound is not the word I want to use. I'll just try to keep it as PG as possible on the State of the Saints podcast, like I said last week. He's an attention hound. He wants all the attention on himself, even with the whole Ricky Williams trade. He was the guy that was behind the Ricky Williams trade. He is the guy that's forever going to be cemented in time, the guy that brought in Ricky Williams when he traded in all the draft picks. Mike Dick is the same coach. Back with the Chicago Bears, he didn't allow his players to actually do commercials and endorsements. He will go into the locker room and tell them, look, we need to be focused on football. Meanwhile, he had about 1 million commercials and endorsement deals in his own right. Mike Dicker loved the attention. He loved the spotlight. And I feel like he came into town and he felt like he was just bigger than the Saints organization and then put that much work in. I think he was more of a nostalgia act, if you ask me, a guy that just basically rested on his laurels with the 85 Bears. And I just felt like he really didn't put the effort in the time into trying to turn the Saints around. And you combine that with the front office of the New Orleans Saints, who couldn't pick a good coach if they had Vince Lombardi, Rich Kotite, and Bill Walsh as their group of guys they could select. They'll probably go get Rich Kotite. If those don't know who Rich Kotite is, look him up And I'm pretty sure if it had a Jets fan in here somewhere, they'll probably be shivering in the corner right now at the very name of Rich Kotite. But anyway, their front office was pretty horrible at the time. So you combine that with Mike Dicker being smoke and mirrors, I just felt like it wasn't the right fit for the Saints. That's just my honest opinion. Jim Haslett, what is the worst coach in Saints history? Did not like him at all. He straight garbage, never did nothing for the team. That's why the team failed. Sorry to say that. Whoa, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold up. Jim Haslett was not the worst coach in New Orleans Saints history. I would say he's the third best coach in Saints history. You got Sean Payton, you got Jim Mora, and then you got Jim Haslett, and then you got everybody else, okay? I mean, Jim Haslett was a really decent coach for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints always had a respectable defense. Really didn't do much on the offensive side of the ball, but he definitely not one of the worst coaches in Saints history. Not at all. Good. They were camp bodies. Yeah, pretty much. They were camp bodies that the Saints decided to cut. We had 4 weeks, 4-week quarterbacks that are on your list. Now they came to training camp, didn't learn nothing, played the game the right way for quarterbacks on your list. This is a darn shame. Wait a minute. You said they didn't learn to play the game the right way for quarterbacks on your list. That's a doggone shame. Well, let me tell you something, Brian. You cannot teach a guy how to be a good quarterback. You can't. You know what I'm saying? You can teach a guy how to be a good decision maker. You can teach a guy to let the game come to him and allow the game to slow down a tad bit. But you cannot teach a guy how to be a good quarterback. It's something in you, okay? It's something that you're born with, the leadership, the intangibles, the skills, the athleticism. That is what you're born with in order for you to play the quarterback position. I think people get the wrong idea when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks. A quarterback is a guy who has those skills already. The coach's job is to amplify and maximize those skills that quarterback possesses. So if the quarterback is not that good, there's not a coach in the world. There's not a Belichick. There's not a Walsh. There's not a Lombardi. There's not an Eric Oriel. There's not a coach on this side of the Western Hemisphere that will be able to teach a guy how to be a good quarterback. You just can't. A guy has to be born with it. A guy has to want it. And I don't think these guys really wanted it, man. And if they did want it, they really just didn't have the skills and the know-how to get it done. So I'm not going to blame that on the coaching staff. I am going to blame the coaching staff, however, for bringing this hot garbage up in here and expecting these guys to lead anybody anywhere. These guys couldn't lead a horse to water, okay? These guys couldn't lead a guy to the next block if they were on the next block, okay? That is what I look at when I look at these guys. These guys were not leaders. They were not good throwers of the football. They were not good decision makers. And they were just a waste of time, space, and place, okay? You could have did better going out here and getting Jim Falco from the replacement. You could have went out here and got Steaming Willie Beeman. And you know what I'm saying? You could have got one of them. And they could have played better. You could have went go get, Mox, you know what I'm saying, from Varsity Blues. You could have got all of those guys out there, and I guarantee you probably would have had better performances than Billy Joe Hobart, Billy Joe Toliver, and Danny Wolfe, okay? I would have traded everything that I had to go out here and get Jim Falco from the replacements or Willie Beeman to come to play for the New Orleans Saints, then to go get some of this hot garbage that was displayed on the field back in the late 90s. Straight up. What's going on, Kid Rascal, man? Shouts out to you, man. Appreciate those stars there. Ramsey says, who was the worst, Mike Dick or Bum Phillips? Man. Oh, man, that was tough. Okay, that was a tough one right there. But I'm going to have to go ahead and go. I'm going to go with Mike Dicker, man. Bum Phillips was a really good guy, but I think he tried to turn the Saints into Houston Oilers light. He went out there and got Earl Campbell when Earl Campbell was way over the hill and way past his prime. And, Bum Phillips was a really good defensive-minded coach. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, man. And not to mention, man, I love the hats. Okay, I love the 10-gallon hats of Bum Phillip, always wearing that nice little coat on the sidelines with the fur on there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a fan of his son, man. I like Wade Phillips. Okay, I like Wade Phillips. I think Wade Phillips is a incredible defensive coordinator and a good human being, man. Love to see Wade Phillips coach defense. I was surprised to see Taylor Stalwart release. Donovan, I wasn't. You know, like when you look at the interior lineman position right now with the New Orleans Saints, pretty deep position, man. You got Malcolm Brown, you got Sheldon Rankins, you got Mario Edwards, you got David Abiyamata. I mean, you got so many guys that you can plug into that particular spot, man. You got depth at that interior line position. So I didn't see Taylor Stalwart. And if you notice, man, you didn't really see, oh yeah, I forgot about Shy Tuttle as well. So you really didn't see Taylor Stalwart take the field because Shy Tuttle was emerging as that guy. Would not surprise me at all if I see an uptick of Shy Tuttle snaps, okay? It depends on how Shy Tuttle took care of himself in the offseason, how he got at it in the offseason without the coaching staff looking at him. So if you notice, Taylor Stalwart went from being dressed in uni to actually sitting on the sidelines with a hoodie on. So that tells you everything that you need to know right there. Shy Tuttle emerged. Taylor Stalwart kind of fell to the back of the line. So it didn't surprise me at all, Donovan, that he actually got cut. But shouts out to Taylor Stalwart. He'll bounce back, and I think a team will pick him up, man, because he does some pretty good things. In my knowledge, Sean Payton and Drew Brees, I like Batman and Robin. That's how good they are together. Yeah, man. But Batman and Robin, man, they need to go ahead and catch that Joker. You know what I'm saying? Because the Joker has been getting away. The Riddler has been getting away. The Penguin, Poison Ivy, Bane, and all these other cats they were chasing are getting away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm still waiting for the next episode to come. You know what I'm saying, y'all? If you ever watched Batman with Adam West and, you know what I'm saying, and Robin, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already know, like, they always leave you with a cliffhanger every week. And they're like, doomed? Is this the end of the Great Crusader and the Boy Wonder? That's the way I think with the Saints. I'm like, playoffs? Lose again? Will the Saints ever get over the hump? You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to be the narrator. That's what I'm thinking about. So that's the Batman and Robin I'm looking at these days. You know what I'm saying? I'm still waiting for the next episode to come on. You know what I'm saying? I'm still waiting for the same bat time, the same bat channel. You know what I'm saying? I'm still looking for the same Saints time, the same Saints channel, because honestly, I'm looking at a rerun right now. For 3 straight years, I'm looking at the New Orleans Saints out there losing, winning, and losing games that matters most. So I'm waiting for these Cape Crusaders that we have to actually prevail, because quite frankly, I'm tired of looking at these same reruns over and over again. I'm just going to be real with you, straight up. Okay, but I think that they need to get over this hump. Batman and Robin need to go ahead and be victorious. But, man, the Saints, they have some really good guys on this team, man. They got some very intriguing matchups that are going to take place in training camp. Number one, to me, this is my number one competition, is going to be who is going to be the number 3 receiver. It's crazy now. First off, we were talking about the number 2 receiver for years, right? And now we up here focusing on the number 3 receiver. Will Traquan Smith be the number 3 receiver for the Saints, or will somebody else emerge? Will we see Deontay Harris? Will we see Emmanuel Butler? Will we see Austin Carr? Will we see, a long shot, a young undrafted rookie, Marquise Callaway or Juwan Johnson? Will one of these guys actually step up and take the spot? Look, you can make an argument and say that this could be Traquan Smith last season as a New Orleans Saint. And you can get a little bit more bold with your prediction and say there's a possibility that he can get cut if he don't go out there and he don't perform well. So Traquan Smith, by no means, can come into training camp and feel like he is going to be a starter of be a part of the rotation for the New Orleans Saints. There's a strong possibility he could be on the outside looking in, especially if he continues to be lost in the shuffle and not be able to be counted on in games, okay? I mean, there are times where I forget that Traquan Smith is even on the field. So Traquan Smith is going to have to step it up. We had John DeShays on the show last week, and John was talking about how much talent Traquan Smith has. And I'm not taking that away from Traquan. Traquan probably does have a lot of talent, but it's very hard to see as a Saints fan from time to time. The guy just goes ghost. He becomes invisible. You're wondering where he at. You're looking out there on the field. You're looking hard. You're trying to make sure that he's still out there because he does absolutely nothing. And I'm not saying that he's not tough. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he catches some tough passes. Most of the passes that he catch are in traffic, and he really pays the price to catch them. I will say that. But at the same time, man, what happens when you not going out there and going on suicide missions? I mean, what's up with your route running? Why you can't get separation from the cornerbacks and the safeties? Why you can't, manipulate the defense? Why can't you read the defense? Why can't you know what the soft spots are in the defense? I'm questioning the IQ of Traquan Smith right now. I'm questioning his IQ as a wide receiver in the National Football League. I really am, man. So he's going to have to step it up because when you start looking at guys going into year 3, year 4 of their careers, and you still are stuck in limbo with those guys, you're wondering to yourself, like, man, what do I actually have here in year 3 or year 4? You have to start questioning guys' football IQ. How long are they staying up looking at film? Are they falling asleep with the binder on their face because they're so exhausted at looking at the playbook? I'm questioning Traquan Smith's ability to be able to understand different defenses. It's been on several occasions I've watched Drew Brees actually have to call a timeout because Traquan Smith doesn't understand the audibles of knowing where to shift. It's been several times I've seen Drew Brees call in number 10 in order for him to rotate from right to left or left to right. I'm questioning this guy's footwork. I'm questioning this guy's hands coming off the line, allowing cornerbacks and safeties to jam him and getting the best of the matchup. Traquan Smith is going to have to step it up if he is going to be that number 3 receiver, because there's a lot of hungry guys out there that want to be a starter. And they're looking at Traquan Smith and they're looking at his production and they're thinking to themselves, you know what? That can be my spot right there. I can take that spot. We already know we got Mike. We already know we got Emmanuel. I can be that next guy. Traquan Smith could lose his job if he does not step it up. And quite frankly, man, as a member of the Who Dat Nation and a person that they're really focusing in on the Saints, I'm really getting tired of looking at Traquan Smith not living up to expectations. This guy was, a pretty relatively high draft pick. And, for the fact that he has not done absolutely nothing, to really hang your hat on. He had a couple good games, He had a game against the Philadelphia Eagles, a game against the Washington Redskins, where, he was the person that caught the ball to break the record for Drew Brees. And I get it. But at the same time, man, we got to count on you every Sunday at least to get about 3 or 4 catches, at least to get about 40 or 50 yards a game. Like, come on, man. Give me a break. Like, come on, man. You're a veteran now. The game should have slowed down for you. No excuses. The excuses are over. The excuses are over, in my opinion, for Traquan Smith. If he does not step it up, then we need to be talking about maybe replacing him with somebody else. What up, TJ985 Live? Thank you very much for checking out the live. Angel Gill says, hi, please pray for me. I have seizures and a heart attack and a stroke. We will be praying for you, Angel. We pray that the angel of protection protect you, and keep you well and everything like that. I really do appreciate it, that you're checking out the live, and you definitely will be in our prayers, man. Definitely. Smith job will be taken by a wide receiver that the Saints just picked up. Could be, it could be Deontay Harris, man. It could be Emmanuel Butler. Could be one of those guys. Jerry, amen, brother. He disappeared in a game. Yeah, he definitely does that quite a bit. Traquan Smith needs to step up or step out and let someone who understands the offense. I agree, man. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he just needs to step it up. There's no excuses you can make for Traquan Smith anymore. There's no excuses for that. No excuses for Traquan Smith anymore. You can't say, oh, man, Traquan, what you doing? Like, you can't do that now. He has to step it up. And, ladies and gentlemen, I'm probably going to have to cut this episode a little bit short as well because seeing the lights flickering right now. The wind is blowing pretty hard, so I don't want the power to go out by the time we end the show. So we're going to take I'm probably going to take one more question, and then we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. And I do apologize once again. Tropical storm Isaias is making its way to the Carolinas, so got a lot of wind and a little bit of rain out there. So I apologize. I have to cut the show short. But the last question is going to come from Mike. He says, TJ, your thoughts on AB? You think Sean Payton might consider signing him? Your thoughts? Sean was interested before this year. I just came in. Thank you, Mike, for checking out the podcast. Thank you for showing up. I'll answer some. I want to answer some more of these questions. I'll answer them all together. Hey, TJ, when you had John DeShays on last week, the two main questions I was waiting on were, number one, are the Saints looking at Griffin or Clowney? Number two, will we see them run the ball this year? Ramsey, those are two good questions right there. I'll make sure I ask Mike Triplett that. I feel like Mike Triplett is a guy that probably would be best to ask the question, especially about Clowney, since he's like the Saints insider right there. So I'll make sure I ask him that question this week, okay? And Ramsey, if you could, man, if you can send me the question on Facebook, facebook.com, search the State of the Saints podcast, or State of the Saints at gmail.com. You can send me that question so I won't forget, man, when I interview him. But that's a good question right there. So I'll make sure I ask him that. But back to Mike's question, should the Saints consider looking at Antonio Brown? Yeah, I really do, man. You know, you already know that he's going to miss 8 games, so he'll come back like midway through the season. You know, so when you're trying to go on that playoff run, you know, he can actually be ready to rock and roll. But I do think that the way that he actually came to the Saints organization last year, the fact that he came in with the camera crew, the fact that he came in where Sean Payton and stuff like that told him not to bring in a whole bunch of people. He did it anyway. He filmed inside the facility. You know what I'm saying? He was out there all up in the street and stuff like that in New Orleans. I think it wasn't a good look. So he has a lot of talent, but teams have to know that they can actually trust a guy in the locker room and make sure that he's not a locker room cancer. So AB, and you have to look at the fact that you have Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders on the team, guys that are going to get the majority of the throws. You know what I'm saying? The passes being thrown at him. So, I mean, how is he going to take that? The fact that he won't be the number one guy. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He has all the talent that you want in a wide receiver. And I think a team is going to pick him up. But I do think he's like a one-man show. You know what I'm saying? I can see him possibly playing for the Jets or something like that. You know, going out there to New York where there's a big market, a guy he can maximize his attention. You know what I'm saying? That he wants to get on himself. So I don't know if the Saints will pick him up. You know, I mean, I think when the Saints actually looked at him, I think it left a bad taste in the mouth of the Saints organization the way that he came in. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Once again, I apologize. I just want to make sure I get off by the time the power could possibly go out. I don't want to just end the show abruptly like that. So want to say thank you all for your questions. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have not already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Also, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Audio version available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio.com. Y'all check it out. And thank you all for supporting the State of the Saints podcast. And I look forward to you all later on in the week when we have guest Mike Detillier and ESPN insider Mike Triplett will be on the show. So thank you all. Hopefully I see you all there, and being a part of that show. And you all have a good and a safe night. And for those listeners that are in the Carolinas, you be safe as well. Till next time, all I got to say is